Ladies and gentlemen, New Media Radio Hour with Ray Ibarra.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. I'm your host, Ray Ibarra. We have a great show for you today, directly from and live from the PAC Stereo TV studios. And before I introduce my special guest here, I'd like to introduce the man back there, the engineer, Victor Allen. What's going on, Vic?
Hey, man, you don't have to give me props, man. I'll do your cleaning whenever you want me to. You ain't got to give me props, okay, man. Thank you, man, anyway.
And the man with the plan, the man behind PAC Stereo TV, Mario Hemsley. What's going on, Mario?
All right, everybody.
All right, we have a wonderful guest here. And before I introduce here, we have an incredible announcement to make for you. My book, Conversations with Shark Tank Winners, How the Shark Tank Effect Dramatically Increased Sales, Exposure, and More for these Successful Entrepreneurs, will be debuting July 13th. Very, very excited about that. My special guest, you saw her on Shark Tank. She is the creator of NailPak. She is Barbara Lampugnale, flying in from Connecticut. Barbara, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
And her beautiful daughter, Brittany, back there. Brittany's joining us today. Brittany, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing fantastic. Really great to have both of you here. I'd like to first ask you a question here. How is NailPak Duality Cosmetics doing since going on Shark Tank?
It is doing fantastic. It's growing. We're reaching levels that I always had hoped that we would reach, and that is now becoming a reality. Mm-hmm. Slow and steady.
Slow and steady.
Slow and steady.
What was your experience like going on Shark Tank? Now, it was an incredible episode. You are business partners now with the queen of QVC, Lori Grenier. Tell us about that.
Well, it was nerve-wracking. I'm not going to say that it wasn't, but honestly, it was one of the best experiences. Everybody on the show, despite what you see, they were actually really nice. Nice to me. I can't say for anybody else's experience, but they were great to me. All the producers, the people I keep in touch with, the ones that like to do the updates, everybody was so supportive, incredibly supportive, like a cheerleading team.
What were some of the highlights then of preparing and going on the program? Because everybody wants to know online and the discussions. What is it like? I have an idea that I want to go on Shark Tank, but what is the reality of getting on the show, and what did you have to do to even be considered?
Right. Well, it was very humbling first that you get chosen. It's like being picked for a team. You know, you're always, pick me, pick me. And I had applied for season 1. I saw the commercials originally that summer, and I knew that it was for me right away, like I knew, like hand in glove. And from there, I figured out how to apply. That was already closed. Applied for season 2. Did not make it on season 2, though they did get in touch with me. And I sent in the video and all of that, and it was rejected after a few rounds. And then they called me back for season 3, and that's when I actually made it on there.
Wow, so you applied for season 1, and it took you to season 3. Talking about tenacity, talking about not quitting and giving up. What was the waiting like when you first got denied, and what was the waiting like? What was going through your mind? Did you feel like quitting, or what was happening?
Never felt like quitting, but it was confusing because it's sort of a roller coaster ride. You get excited, and you know, okay, casting is closed, so there was nothing I could do about that. Well, let's hope that they get picked up for a second season. Then you find out they get picked up for a second season. Then you apply, and they call you and send a video, but you don't have any product. So I was just too fresh and too new. So then there was that high again, then there was that low again. Every time the phone would ring, I would see that area code from the Los Angeles area. I was like, oh, they're calling. Mm-hmm. And then for season 3, it was the same thing. So I told myself, don't get too excited. This time I didn't make a fancy video. This time, you know, I filled out the paperwork, and I was just, okay, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And then the phone calls kept coming. Then you're getting a little closer. So you're getting a little more excited. You're getting a bit closer and a little more excited. And then finally you get the call. But the whole time they're telling you, even though we've come this far, it doesn't mean you're going to air. Even though you've taped, it doesn't mean you're going to air. Even though you're here, it doesn't mean you're going to air. There's always that chance that you're being sent home, or you're going to get preempted by the president, or some horrible thing that might be happening, or some good thing that might be happening.
Yeah. Okay, so the waiting game and reapplying again, and you were saying that the first time you didn't have Duality Cosmetics, there was no prototype yet, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I had started Duality Cosmetics many years ago when I was pregnant with my twins, but at that time, those were babies 4 and 5. Everything was dual. I used to crack open eggs and there would be double yolks. It was the craziest thing. So it all really went hand in hand. But I was a mom at that point to 4 and 5 children, and then number 6 came along, children being the priority. So I kind of kept it on the back burner, started the patenting process, and said the time will be right when my kids get into school full time, and that's when I'll be able to put my efforts into a career. And Shark Tank happened that same year that my baby went into kindergarten full time. So it was perfect timing.
Mario, you have
You know, I was actually amazed once again how Ray, as part of this, always seems to come up with these stories of perseverance. And it's like what you said, Barbara. People think that it's some kind of it just happened. Oh, you're a natural. How about that one? You're a natural. Because they don't realize the years of hard work. And looking at this, it reminded me because you go way back.
Yeah.
6 years old, designing a line of Barbie clothes.
Yes. Oh, my mother loves to tell that story. When we girls used to wear the knee socks, the little knit knee socks, and if there were holes in them, I would cut them and I would make Barbie doll clothes. And now my daughters, my twins actually, do the same thing. I'll go and buy fabric scraps and they'll put things together. So maybe the apple isn't going to fall far from the tree.
Well, that's one of the impressive things, along with the idea that to me still you represent motherhood balanced with entrepreneurism in a way that seems to actually give many of us a lesson. How about that, Barbara? Because you seem to have your priorities in order to me.
I think so. My family is definitely at the top of the list, though there are some days when I'm sure they feel like Duality is at the top of the list, but it's a balancing act. It's like any relationship, you just have to. Some days it's 70-30, some days it's 50-50, some days it's 10-90, but the kids know that they always come first, and my husband.
sometimes, as you said in our interview for the book, that the business needs you more. Sometimes your family needs you more, and you always talk about balance. It's so important, being balanced. You have to do other things outside of your business and your hobbies to keep you sane. What do you do?
Exactly. I run. I run 2 half marathons a year, one in the spring and one in the fall with my sister. We challenged each other to that about 6 years ago, and I'm actually running my next one on Mother's Day.
Wow.
Yoga is very important to me. That keeps me sane, I guess is one word. I'm very heavily involved in our church, in our children and family services, and volunteering when the times got really tough for us. We were the type of family that used to just write checks to different things, different organizations. When we couldn't do that, we started volunteering our time, and I will tell you that was so much more enriching than any check that we had ever written. So because of the times that we went through, and I volunteered for Girl Scouts, I volunteered for basketball. As a result, we are now doing a nonprofit basketball organization in the city of Hartford called Active City to keep kids off the street. I started teaching Sunday school.
Wow.
From that, it turned into me going into the Children and Family Services, which means I help with our Sunday school and all of the activities with the kids. So so many different things came out of the hard times that we went through that I never could have foreseen. It's been great.
So you are very involved in your community then, as much as you are with your family and your business. I mean, what a great example for your lovely daughter back there, Brittany. What do you say to all of this? What kind of example has your mom been for you and your sisters?
I don't know how she does it all. She really does balance everything so well, with work and school, like everything.
Mm-hmm. And you say that the Duality Cosmetics, that you and all of your friends use them. You like them. She's really targeted that youthful market, the college market. Tell me about that. Tell me about what your friends say about it.
Well, she's been asking for years when we were in middle school, asking my friends what they thought of it, and they've gone through the process as much as I have, and some of my friends who are still home are working for her now. They're as involved as we are in it, and they all love it. Mm-hmm. Everyone who I ever show the NailPak to or talk to about, they are like, oh my gosh, it's the most amazing idea. I can't believe no one thought about that before.
Well, we have the video too. We have the video available to show them about the NailPak.
the YouTube.
Yes.
Little YouTube
Go ahead.
video.
Let's see that then. Let's see what this is all about here, and coming up here on screen. So
My name's Barbara Lampugnale, and I have created this revolutionary new
wow.
product
Okay, tell
that I
me
am so
about that.
excited
That's
to share with
you
you.
there with your
It's called
NailPak and.
And I have
That's me
created
learning
this
to love
revolutionary new product
Okay.
that I am
That does-
so
that does
excited
not
to
come
share with
naturally.
you.
Talking
It's called
comes
the
very
NailPak.
naturally to me. Being in front of a
The
camera
NailPak
is a
is
little
so
more
easy to use.
overwhelming.
You have your
but
nail
that was
polish
the first
on
video
top.
that we shot that
You
actually
unscrew
explained
the
because
top
it is a brand
from
new
the bottom,
product.
then
And
you
people
locate
don't
the
understand.
seal,
They think it's
and
an
you'll find a
oversized
little
nail
tab
polish
in
bottle.
here.
They, you know,
You
so
put your
our
thumbnail on there and give it a good tug.
challenge is
Then
getting
you'll
people to
find your nail
understand
polish
what it
pads,
is.
and they've been
It is your
pre-soaked
nail
with
polish
remover.
pads.
We've chosen a nail
File.
polish remover with a
All
nice
that.
fresh
And this is
scent.
just the first of
After
our
removing your
products. I have a
polish,
second
you can use the
patent
convenient
pending
nail
as well.
file
The premise
just to
of
file
Duality
away
Cosmetics is
any
all
nicks or chips you might have.
Everything to serve
You simply repolish.
my lip liner and lip gloss
Replace the
together,
seal,
all these different things.
gently
This is
replacing
the
it.
iceberg.
Put the tab back down, and you screw the top back onto the bottom, and you're ready for your next manicure. And each individual nail pack comes with its own pouch,
That's a really nice video there.
which makes being on the go even easier. The NailPak. Express your individuality with
Right
Duality.
after I came off of Shark Tank and we were developing our website. Actually, after I filmed it, it hadn't aired yet, but we were anticipating that great things were going to happen. And so we said, well, the first thing we need to do is really show people what it's all about and how to use it. So we made the video, put it on the website, and did the YouTube.
Okay, there are different colors there online there. Now, I got a question that I took offline in one of the websites that discusses Shark Tank here. And the question here was, your segment, NailPak segment, was discussed online as a great lesson in how to use negotiation leverage. Expand on that statement for me.
Negotiation leverage. Well, Lori had made a deal, and you never take the first deal that's on the table. My husband's a real estate developer, and he says, honey, you make sure that they make the first offer. You don't put it out there. And I said, well, you go out there and you have a pitch, and you're saying, I'm going to give you X amount or do whatever. So that kind of undermined his advice. But at the same time, then Lori made her offer, which was 51%, and I was always wanted to maintain control of my company. And then when the boys jumped in, because they did realize, that's when they asked the question, is it just the NailPak? I believe it was Dame and John, and I said, oh no, I have a second patent already and lots of other products, and that's when they jumped in. And so I started, I think that saying is playing two ends against the middle and seeing who would come up with a better idea.
Did you always want to work with Lori? Was that who you had in mind? Or if there was a better offer, you know, what was going through your mind about that?
Not to fall off my shoes.
Okay,
and
sure.
not to drop the NailPak was what was going through my mind. But when they were actually talking back and forth, your mind has to go really fast. And I had it in my head that Lori was probably the best fit for me and the partner. But then all of a sudden, when the guys were saying, oh, but we can call, you know, one of the other, what is it, TV online selling places, we can do that. And you know, poo-poo to her.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, well, maybe they do. So I started thinking, well, if these two guys are partnering together, maybe they have twice as much to offer as she does. But then I went right back to, you know, I don't know. She was the first one that smiled at me when I walked in the room.
So you had that connection there.
Exactly,
with
right
Lori.
away.
Anything you want to add to that, Mario, about her segment there on Shark Tank?
Well, I must admit, you stood up to the pressure well. And now that I know that in the back of your mind you're thinking about the advice your husband gave you, I guess that's helpful, but I'm just thinking, boy, I feel extra pressure. What did you tell me again? 51%.
Exactly.
But really beautiful that you were able to stand in there. Everybody talks about the fact that when you step into that spot, what it feels like to be in front of those folks.
The definition of being under the spotlight, because you are walking up that corridor and those doors open and you just take one deep breath and
Wow.
you know, this is it. Everything that I've been hoping for, thinking about, practicing for the past few months, here it is. But it's like I go back to when I went into the bank and asked for the $1.7 million. What was the worst thing that could happen? The worst thing that could happen is they could say no, but I got on there and I felt so good about that and knew that no matter what, it was going to take me somewhere, whether I had a deal, whether I didn't had a deal. So it was a win-win situation. And that's what I tell people who are calling me and asking me for advice. I'm like, absolutely, go for it. You have absolutely nothing to lose.
Right, right. And then dealing, like Mario said, dealing with the pressure of preparing and going on and seeing the Sharks in front of you, being on national television, in front of 4 or 5 of the most successful business people and well-known faces on the planet.
Right.
How do you handle all of that pressure? I mean, how do you deal with that pressure for those entrepreneurs that perhaps are applying for this upcoming season, which is going to be a huge season? How do you handle that pressure? How do you deal with it?
You know, I think having 6 children, the amount of pressure that comes with that makes anything else a walk in the park. What I did, though, which was really kind of funny, is I set up my own Shark Tank studio at home. So
Wow.
in my living room, I had my table with my display on it, and I would have people come and sit. My husband, sometimes his friends, sometimes Brittany and Bethany's friends, anybody who would listen to me. It was funny because I practiced my pitch so much in my head that my 4 smaller children could recite the whole thing. They knew
Wow.
it. Hi,
Wow.
my name is They used to make fun of me. Hi, my name is Barbara Lampugnale, and I did the
So-
NailPak. So they knew the whole thing. And I just practiced, so that when I actually did get there, it almost kind of felt like old hat. I mean,
That's
there's definitely,
amazing,
it's
Barbara.
different when you're there because there's a whole different amount of pressure. But just before I walked up the stairs, I did jumping jacks in the back to get all of like that extra energy out of me. So then when I went up there and I literally took a deep breath. And when you're standing there, there's a few moments when the camera's going around your head. And so you're actually not speaking for about 60 seconds, which I think is the hardest part of the whole thing because you know that you're about to put your business on the line. You know what I mean? Your heart, your soul. And you only have, like that first 60 seconds to make that first impression. And that first impression is everything. So you just go for it.
Yeah. Now,
Wow.
I've heard before some of the entrepreneurs that I've interviewed in the past said that there's a moment where you pause and nobody says anything before
Right.
you go. Tell us about that experience, what that's all about.
Right. That is that 60 seconds where the camera is going
Okay.
around. And I just kept looking at the sharks. And they're just looking at me, and I'm smiling. And 2 of them were straight-faced, and 3 of them were smiling. So I just kept going back to the ones that were smiling. And then you kind of feel like your throat get dry, and you're thinking. I tried to make my mind, I kind of like a yoga sort of thing, just kind of make my mind go blank before I knew I was about to just everything. And then once those first few words came out of your mouth, or for me, when the first few words came out of my mouth, I was just
Wow.
like, oh, I can do this. I got it. And then just start talking to them like I'm talking to you guys.
Now,
You know, Ray, it reminds me of kind of like when we talk about sports. Like, Larry Bird, they said, used to shoot 300
yeah.
jump shots before the game, right?
Right.
Barbara, the idea that you would practice, I mean, and I consider myself type A. I'm impressed with that repetition
Yeah.
of your process till you feel like you really have it home to practice that Shark Tank presentation. Well, they say luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah,
That's it.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I was watching a program just the other night about how to defend yourself, especially for women, and they were saying that you have to keep practicing your defense exercises to get muscle memory because your mind is going to go from the shock where your body just takes over and does what you need to do
Exactly.
to defend yourself. Sounds like that's what you did. You kept practicing and practicing and practicing until it was ingrained in your body. You had that muscle memory going, so no matter what happened, it was going to come out because you were really prepared.
Exactly. And maybe that's where, I don't know, I was taking Krav Maga for a while there, and that's exactly what it is. They do
Oh, yeah.
stress testing
Yeah.
where they actually will jump out at you, and I had these big men, like bodybuilder type of people, coming at me with like pretend weapons and whatnot to actually defend myself, and that's exactly it. You have to be prepared without being paranoid.
Right.
And so maybe that's all part and parcel to how I handle life in general.
So what have you learned then from all of this in terms of business? I'm doing business on that level now that you're with the Sharks, with doing business with multi-billionaires and multi-millionaires. What important lessons do you want to share that you took away that have helped you take your business to the next level?
Gosh, I am still learning every single day. It's like the school of hard knocks. Some people call it my MIT training. Other people have called it my Harvard school education, all of which I've had none of those. And it's just with every new thing that keeps happening, whether it's getting into an Ulta, being on QVC, boutique owners that want the product. There are people from different countries that are now looking at the product and wanting it.
learning to manage all of that. I think the biggest thing that I'm learning right now is I really can't do it by myself. It really does take a team. That there's no I in team, you know, whether it's PR or social marketing or the accounting. I know so much about manufacturing. It's like knowing a little bit about each part of my business, recognizing where my strengths are, which is definitely the creative part of it, and playing to my strengths and hiring people much like myself, but whose strengths are in the accounting, in the manufacturing, so on and so forth. So
Very
it's just
practical.
being able to manage all that. It's like picking a team. It's like having a sports team, like you were saying before, and picking all the right players so that I have the best opportunity to, quote unquote, win.
Well, the website is amazing. Everybody, Duality Cosmetics. You know, whenever I come across sites like this, and it's amazing that Ray's people, I guess it makes sense, seem to have very well laid out presentations and websites. So this is a wonderful presentation here, Barbara,
Thank you.
of your product. Simple but to the point, and all the things really grab you. I was impressed by you designed the act. From what I see of your background, this is your invention of pulling this
It's fun.
together.
I mean, I picked out the font, the picture. I'm watching the pictures go by. That's my
Yeah.
nanny on there. My daughters are on there. My bankers are on there.
Wow.
I mean, you know, when you can't pay people to do things, you utilize whatever you can. I have beautiful bankers, and one day I'm in the bank. I'm like, you know what? This is them right there. The two
Isn't
on
that
the end,
wonderful?
you know, who both just are now having
That's
babies. So that's really exciting for them. But yeah, you just this will be changing though. Actually, we just had a meeting the night before last, and we're going to. I like the simplicity of it. I think that's really important to me. We're going to be updating some pictures, putting in some new collections, and just making it a little more user friendly. We just are doing merchant services. We'll be taking Visa and MasterCard now, whereas we weren't before. So it's always evolved. You just have to keep it fresh.
Yeah.
You just have to, you know, take what you have, take what works for you, and then keep refreshing it and make it better.
Now, what about the first time you saw your product debut on QVC, Lori Grenier? What was that like? Tell us about that experience and what you were feeling like and what it did for your business after you went on QVC.
Well, it was so funny because Lori had told me that when Shark Tank aired, or when we were taping, she had said, you need to promise me that you will have a big party. So the fact that we were having a big party that night, and then when everybody was watching the show, so we had that huge party the night before. And what nobody really knows is that my samples that Lori was using on air, something happened to them.
Oh.
So my husband had to leave the party and take, because we couldn't ship it. They needed it down at QVC. My husband had to leave the party and drive all the way down to QVC. Thank God it was, you know, close to Connecticut. Drove down, brought the samples to Lori and her team, then came back. So he was just coming back in that morning to see it on QVC after he had been driving all night.
Oh,
so the next morning was very quiet, but I'm sure I cried because I'm a crier. I don't remember crying. I don't know. Sometimes I get so excited that you know, emotion gets pushed to the side. But actually seeing it on TV and having somebody talk about it, and Lori made it very personal. Barbara, I hope you're at home sitting with your girls, and we were.
Oh, cool.
You know, I had a mimosa and the girls did not. Clearly. They had orange juice, but I had my mimosa, and we were all toasting as we watched the numbers roll by and realized that people were buying it. Because that was the first time it was being sold. So actually seeing people, the validation right then and there, at that point I thought, whatever else happens from here, I've made it. I persevered, you know, definitely that word, persistent. Tenacity is something I should just have on a t-shirt or have a tattoo of it, because that is definitely a word. If anybody asked me what word I would use to describe myself, I hope loving and caring would be first. But tenacious is definitely up there in the top 5.
Right. I was just going to say, what validation when you see your product on screen on a show like QVC with Lori Grenier, her segment,
Amazing.
and people are buying it. And what validation for you.
Amazing.
Exactly.
That's just amazing, and congratulations on that. An online blog wrote about your deal and the negotiations. Lessons learned here: make sure to take advantage of multiple bidders in negotiation, and negotiate from a position of strength. This means firmly counter offering terms that you want to have.
Exactly. When I look back on it, I think, oh, I should have been a little more firm. But you can't go back and do
Wow.
the what ifs. And I thought, gee, I kind of caved rather easily and said, okay, I got 40%. You know, maybe I should have gone back and said, well, they're doing 40. Maybe I should have done 30. But you can't go back and play that what if game. But
And
I
you did
definitely
do what your husband said, right?
I did.
You did.
They
You
put out the
can't
first
say.
one. Right. So I did. I took that advice, and he did that advice,
Right.
and he will not let me forget
I
that.
bet he won't.
So what's the next big move then for NailPak, Duality Cosmetics? You said you had some things that you were working on, 15 products or something to
Right.
that effect. What can you tell me now about that, if you can?
Well, that's exactly what we're doing, is taking Duality Cosmetics, taking all of our products, figuring out which is the next best one to move with. We have an improvement on this nail pack. That would be my second patent, so we'll be doing that. But taking it to a level where it's not just the nail pack, taking it to the level where people start recognizing it is Duality Cosmetics, and it will be a line of all 2-in-1 products, multi-purpose products.
Multi-purpose
Because some of them do
products.
more than two things.
So how did you know then when you had something really special that, wow, okay, you couldn't find this? You did your research, I assume,
Yes.
online, and you couldn't find it. So what did you do right away?
Right away, patenting was, which I knew we had to protect it, so that was the first thing. And again, because I knew motherhood would be coming first for a while, so I wanted to protect my idea and like nurture it. Just like I look at this as my 7th child. I
Yeah.
really do. I look at it as, you know, I'm raising a company essentially, and so I took care of it and nurtured it for a few years in that respect, and now I'm just watching it grow, much like I've watched my children grow, and I'm just amazed and appreciating each and every stage as we go through it. Some I would have liked to skip, some I couldn't skip.
So immediate action, you went and you
Yes.
protected your idea, and you got the patent for it, applied for the patent, took immediate action to protect your idea,
Right.
and then what else after that did you do?
Then I filed paperwork to become an LLC. Then from there, well, I had the other ideas at that same time too. So I was starting to put pen to paper that way and have an engineer actually draw up the other ideas for me. Then I realized that I was going to need money. And so my husband and I at that time were able to put money into it. So I paid somebody to do a business plan for me. Again, a friend of a friend, and she wrote business plans. I actually just talked to her last week, and she's so funny because she buys the product. And I'm like, Carol, you did so much for me and made this beautiful business plan for me. Just call me. I will send you nail packs. She buys them through the website and gives them to all of her employees.
Oh, wow.
Because she
Okay.
owns her own business, and so she gives them as gifts. And that to me is just, that's humbling. You know, like we had said about being on QVC, that humbling feeling where you really feel like you've made it. So I went back, did the business plan, then started searching for money and bringing it around to different people. You know, a lot of the times I hear the sharks say that, oh, you know, just because you brought it to a few friends and family doesn't mean that,
Yeah, right.
that it's going to be successful. I brought it around, but I talked to everybody. As you can imagine, I talked to, you name the person, I'm going to talk to them. I don't care if it's the person who's giving me a ticket on my car, or the person who's checking out my groceries, or a doctor or a professional that I might be visiting. People on planes. There is not a flight that I have not taken where I've not talked to the flight attendants and
Wow.
they don't know about the nail pack. I mean, just because that's really where it all
Networking,
Kinda started from
networking,
everywhere,
and just more and more.
So
yeah.
I had talked to thousands of people over the years, literally thousands of people, before I ever got to Shark Tank. So I was ready for that question, you know, when they say, did you just talk to friends, family, your kids? And I'm, oh no. I've talked to thousands of people. And the general reaction and everything that it gets me every single time is when somebody says, I wish I had thought of that.
Wow.
Because that's what I look for. That's what, when somebody says, I wish I had
Wow.
thought of that, that reinvents me, like re-energizes me every single time.
Wow, that's a great story. Quickly now, tell me quickly about Alta. What is Alta? Tell us about that.
Alta, we got, they launched us in 550 Alta stores by way of Lori, which we were very
Wow.
grateful for. And so we are,
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
a big
That is
deal.
very exciting.
That's huge.
it is, it's very exciting. But that also came with some learning lessons, because it went into the store and people don't necessarily know what it is. And so that's why I was saying, for me, our first point of contact was making that little video. That's just for people going on the website. Now that it's out there, it's going to take a lot more in like advertising, marketing, and a sales plan to get people to understand what the product is. So that's what we're working on now, is how to tell people more about our story.
Education and
Education.
product education.
Definitely.
For you. Okay. We have a few minutes left here. Mario, anything you want to throw
You know,
in
I
here?
was just thinking how it's wonderful that you are being successful because you got a lot of college to pay for with all
I'm
those daughters.
So glad you said college. Most people say weddings, and I'm like, weddings?
No,
Forget
they're
the
going to be
wedding.
entrepreneurs. You got a bunch of degrees to pay for.
Exactly.
Your
Thank
daughters
you.
are going to be all overachievers. Man, all that graduate school you're going to have to pay for.
Right. What do you say to that, Brittany?
Right.
What do you say to that? Anything to say?
I mean,
Pay
we'll
up,
have to
huh?
pay for it.
Yeah, because with a mom like that, I mean, who's such an example to so many of us of how you can be a parent, juggle those things successfully, and then still end up with children who are grounded in your principles. I think that is the story that's most compelling to me. It's the story of the individual once again. It was not a shortcut. Right,
no.
it was a mom who did it. Their business. It's like you said, your seventh child.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, that's an amazing again.
And
Thank you, Ray.
And persevered. Thank you, Mara, and persevered. I mean, there's a great
Yes.
lesson of perseverance here that if you can do it,
Yeah.
certainly a lot of
Right.
moms watching are going to be tuning in and buying the book
Right.
and reading your chapter are going to be very, very inspired that are raising daughters or raising children. A lot of single moms, moms going through things. You're an inspiration
Yes.
to all of them. So thank you so much for
Oh,
coming.
thank you.
And thank you for participating in Conversations with Shark Tank winners, ladies and gentlemen. My multimedia book coming out July 31st, 2013. Barbara and many of the other entrepreneurs from Shark Tank are participating in the project. More information, sharktankeffect.com.
There it is.
Sharktankeffect.com. There's the cover. And more information will be on my Facebook page, Conversations with Shark Tank winners, Twitter, all of that. Thanks, Mario. Great job, Victor, as usual. Thank you, Brittany, for joining us as well.
Wow.
This is Ray Ibarra at the Pack Stereo TV studios, Conversations with Shark Tank winners. Do it to it.
All right. You've been listening to Ray Ibarra, New Media Radio Hour. Special guest today, Barbara Lampugnale, NailPak, Duality Cosmetics. You know we'd like to bring you the best in entrepreneurs, the best in social media. Join us in the future.